This is my diagram of a presynaptic and postsynaptic neuron. Starting from the left, we can see the soma and nucleus within it. The soma is the cell body of the neuron represented by the green circle, and this is present in both types of neurons. The black dot inside of the soma is the nucleus, and that directs the manufacturing of substances that the neuron needs for growth and maintenance. Attached to the soma are dendrites, which are also present in both neurons, and those are represented by the red lines. These dendrites receive and conduct impulses towards the cell body. And at the end of each dendrite is the dendrite spine, which is a small protrusion from the neuron's dendrite that receives the single input from an axon at the synapse. In the case of a presynaptic neuron, this would be a stimulus, like a physical touch, because this is the first neuron in the chain. And for a postsynaptic neuron, which is receiving the message, this would be the neurotransmitter, which is a chemical stored in a vesicle that is transmitted across a synaptic gap from one neuron to the next. In this representation, the synaptic gap is the space between one neuron and another, and it's shown in the black circle. And the vesicles are the small gray circles with purple dots inside. The purple dots are representing the neurotransmitter. Attached to the cell body is also the axon, the part of the neuron that carries information away from the cell body towards other cells. And this axon also contains the myelin sheath, which is a layer of fatty tissue that insulates the axon and increases the velocity of conduction of the action potential along the axon. The action potential is a brief wave of positive electrical charge that travels down the axon, or the sequence of shifts in electrical charge of a neuron. The action potential abides by the all or nothing principle, meaning that once an electrical impulse reaches a certain level of intensity, called its threshold, it fires and moves all the way down the axon without losing any of its intensity. When a neuron is in its resting state, it's known as the resting potential, and in this state, the neuron is negatively charged. The inside of the cell membrane is negative compared to the outside. Sodium potassium pumps can be used inside of the cell to decrease or increase sodium to help maintain the neuron's resting potential. Depolarization is when the incoming impulse raises the neuron's voltage and opens the ion channels, causing potassium ions to flow out and sodium ions to flow in. Once the message has been received from a neuron, the neurotransmitters are released from the receptor sites and reabsorbed into the terminal buttons, also known as the axon terminals, which are at the ends of the axons, and that process is called reuptake. Additionally, in the diagram, we can see the node of Ranvier, which is the space between each of the myelin sheaths that are part of the axon. The presynaptic neuron is the neuron, like I said, that gets the stimulus from the body, and the postsynaptic neuron is any neuron in the chain that is receiving the neurotransmitter and sending it off to another neuron.